I think today we'll go with the nice pink clipboard. Perfect. Oh, this must be them right now. Come in. Hello there. No, you're definitely in the right space. Please just come on in. Make yourself comfortable. Oh yes, you can just put that on the hook there. That's fine. Was it raining a little bit? Just a tad. Good that you're inside now. Absolutely. Well, it's lovely to meet you. Hi, I'm Lucy. I'll be doing your ultra detailed measuring today. Are you okay? Oh, just a little bit stressed. No, that's fine if you had a bit of a stressful week so far. Oh, bless you. Can I get you a cup of tea, a coffee, a drink? Are you sure? Well, hopefully today we can help to relax you and take your mind off things. Yeah, for me, I know this isn't to do with what we're doing here today, but for me, especially over the last few months, I've been a little bit overwhelmed, a little bit stressed, not just with work, but with life things, and sometimes you feel like you don't want to burden family and friends, do you, with things? I know, and of course you're not, you're just talking and expressing yourself, but often it can help to speak to someone outside of your circle. And I don't know if you've heard of them, but I know that for me, BetterHelp have been a fantastic service to do exactly that. Do you want me to tell you a bit more about them? Of course. So, BetterHelp is a paid partner of this video today, and they are a fantastic resource of incredible therapists that you can access from anywhere in the world at your own convenience from home. So literally wherever you are, however you like to speak to someone, BetterHelp will match you with a therapist after answering a series of questions on a questionnaire, and you'll be matched with someone who will talk you through what you're going through and hopefully provide a bit of a different perspective and offer some advice and just be there to listen. And sometimes just talking to a therapist can be enough to actually just give you a bit of relief and take the weight off your shoulders. And with over 7,000 reviews and a 4.3 rating on Trustpilot, they are a service that you can definitely trust. And if you don't like the therapist that you're matched with, you can switch for free. So if you'd like to try them for yourselves today, you can head to my link in the description below and save yourself 10% off your first month of therapy. Okay, well, today you're in safe hands. There's no need to stress today, and we're going to be doing that detail measuring. Okay, so if you're ready, what I'd love you to do is I do have a little sort of two-piece clothing you can wear if you prefer, a little sort of vest thing and some bottoms just for modesty. But if you're happy just to get the most detailed measurement, I need to get quite close. Is that okay? Fantastic. So what I'll do is I am just going to go and get us some drinks, okay? Would you like a lemon water? Yeah, something like that. Perfect. I'm going to go and do that. You make yourself comfortable. Remove whatever you feel comfortable removing, and then I'll come back in and we'll begin the measuring. Does that sound like a plan? Fantastic. Okay, I'll go and do that now. I'll see you in a second. We'll be using centimetres and millimetres for the closest measure, and I will send you a copy of your results as well. And as we go along, if you'd like to stop at any point, you just let me know. Perfect. Now, before we begin, I'd just like to make sure I've got all your personal details correct. So, your full name, please. send you anything, we'd just like to keep a little note of where our clients are based. Fantastic. What a lovely spot. I think I've walked past there a few times. Some lovely trees around there. Really nice, particularly this time of year. And springtime. Okay, lovely. And could I take your best contact number? Fantastic. Good. And lastly, just your email address so that I can send you the copy. Don't be silly. That is quite a normal email address. I mean, what is normal really? But most of the time it's some sort of school old email or something silly. So don't worry at all. I'll just say at the moment that you're opted in for the results only emails. If you would like to receive our normal emails, we do like to include some factual newsletters every month, so you can choose to opt in or out of those. Fantastic. Okay then, well, as I said, at any point you'd like to stop, then we can do just that. I'm going to start with a smaller measure for the face, she says as she picks up the larger one. There we go, they all seem to get a little bit tangled together, but I've got this one. Lovely. Oh, you know that feeling where you feel like you've got a little hair on your face, but I think we're okay. So, here's our trusted measure. I'm just going to come a little bit closer. Okay. Now, all I'm going to do is begin with some measurements. I'm going to start around the full head. Okay? So if I come all the way around. Fantastic. Good. And sometimes I either like to retain a few measurements at a time, or I like to do one by one and note them down. It just depends. Quite a while now, almost 9 years. How time flies. But it's lovely to be able to do this. Definitely. And of course, meet lovely people like yourself. Now, moving on, I'm going to do the length and width of the face. Okay? So let's do this. Great, and across. Sometimes the measure has a mind of its own. Okay, lovely. So you haven't had to come too far today? Not too far. I know you mentioned you're feeling a little bit stressed. Hopefully having this time out can take your mind off of things a little bit. I think so. There we go, lovely. Sometimes I just like to make little additional notes on particular sort of if there's perhaps, for example, a slight raised part of the face which may distort any measurements. I can see you've just got a little mark just here. Sometimes, for example, with myself, if I have a little raised spot, sometimes that will just distort the measurement ever so slightly. So I like to make a little note of that. Okay, now I'm going to come across the face like so, diagonally. That was the word I was looking for. So across the face. Lovely. And the other way. Perfect. You've got a lovely shape face. Have you been told that before? Well, you clearly have not been mixing with the right people. No, you need to be mixing with people who would notice such things. I'm joking, but you do have a very lovely face. You do. Oh, thank you. You're very kind. Let's just note this down. Perfect. So have you ever been to have a suit created or anything before? No, so this really is your first time being measured. Okay, how are you finding it? Good? Perfect. Now I'm going to move more into some of the detail. So we've done the around the head, or the circumference. We've done along and down, across and diagonally. And now we're going to zone in on more of the features. So I'm going to measure the depth of the forehead, okay? Fantastic. There seems to be lots of cars and road traffic noise outside today. I know it can be very hard to tune it out. Sometimes it's funny. I can come in here quite early in the morning and it can be very, very peaceful. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you'll get quite a lot of noise. And the same thing at night time. So I think it just depends. It does. I'm just going to have a little sip of my water. If you don't mind, just do up the bottle. I've got quite a dry throat at the moment, I think likely from the sort of very warm weather we've been having lately. Yes, it's been quite dry. Let me just note that bit down there. Okay, now I'm going to start to measure things like the brows. So I'm going to measure all the way across the brow, then measure them separately, and then measure the distance in between them. Okay, so lovely. Don't worry about staying too still for me. That's lovely. So the full width, and then individually. Okay, so just like so. Fantastic. And the other one. Great. You know, it's funny, I still feel like there's something just there. I don't know what it is. You know, sometimes when you get a little sensitivity or something and you can feel it. Isn't that funny? I know. Okay, let me make a note of those. You've got very nice full eyebrows. You have. Did you grow those yourself? Okay, now I'm going to do in between the brows, and I'm also going to do the distance from the end of the brow towards the temple, okay? Or the hairline, just around the temple area, I should say. So measuring between the brows now, just do a little measurement. Lovely. And then measuring just at the sides. And at the sides. Good. Now we're going to move on to the eyes, the window of the soul, as they say. And of course, you have lovely eyes. You do. I promise I'm not just throwing out these compliments. You do have very nice eyes. Now, just look as you are. Fantastic. I'm going to focus on one eye at a time. But before I do, I will just do the full distance of the eyes, so just like we did with the brows. Lovely. You have very nicely spaced eyes. When we start to learn about measuring, obviously that sort of seeps into some symmetry as well. And whilst they do say symmetry typically, negates whether somebody is potentially more attractive, I personally like to think that you're a little bit more interesting maybe if you're not fully symmetrical. You know how sometimes you look at someone and you think, oh, you could be like a doll. Like you almost look too perfect. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I feel like I'm digging myself into a hole. I'm glad you find it amusing. Sometimes these things come to my mind and I think I should just... Okay, fantastic. Just have another little sip of this. Perfect. Okay, so let's focus on either eye. Got a preference? This one. Okay. So, measuring the full width of the eye and the depth of the eye. Okay? Just stay nice and still for me. And the depth. I know, sorry, it can sometimes make you want to blink on it. Once I've got that in my head, I will just do the pupil as well and the iris, so I'll just do that now. Okay. Great, let me just make a little note of that. Good. Okay then. Now I'm just going to measure the distance of the white part of the eye, just here. Okay. Don't worry, I never actually come so close that I'm touching your eye. But you may have the urge for the eye to water a little bit more or blink. That's very, very normal. Okay. So just do that. Good. And just here. Fantastic. Point 2. Yes, I do have quite a good memory now from doing this. Yes, although it's funny, sometimes I find it hard to remember the most simplest of things. Yes, I could probably remember a measurement I did from last week, but if you asked me what I wrote on a shopping list this morning, I would probably forget. Okay, let's do your other eye, shall we? Yeah, okay. So, same thing again, measuring across the eye. Lovely. And the depth of the eye. and measuring the pupil and the iris. There we go. You've got a lovely colour eye. It's got a slight mix to it, hasn't it? Oh, thank you. People always say to me, what colour are your eyes? Because sometimes they look very, very blue. And people ask if I have contacts in, which I definitely don't because I cannot touch my eye. And then other times they can look a little bit sort of bluey grey, a little bit duller. I think it just depends. It just depends. There we go. Apparently, and I only heard this today, all babies are born with blue eyes and then their eyes change colour. I don't know if that's true though. Oh, I'll have to check. Okay, now what I'm going to do with either eye is I'm just going to measure the distance between the arch of the eyebrow and the top of the eyelid. Okay? And the same on this side. That's perfect. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the length of the nose and the width from either side of the nostril. Okay, so we're going to go all the way down the nose. Lovely. Do you know, the most sort of comments I get from people like yourself when they're being measured is normally about their nose. Lots of people want to change their nose, and I don't really understand why. I love a good nose. Yeah, you know, and the bigger the nose, the more to smell. What's to complain about? I'm also just going to measure the sort of depth of the nose, as it were. Let's just do that. Oh, well, that's true. More potential for hay fever. You're right. There we go. I'm just going to note that down. Well, I can't pay you too many compliments, of course, but you have got a lovely nose as well. Okay, I'm going to measure now the width of the nostrils and then do them individually. Okay, so a bit tickly, I know, sorry. And then individually, one nostril, two nostrils. The correct amount of nostrils. Or so they say. There we go. Fantastic. You're doing really well. Have you started to relax a little bit? Fantastic. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure the distance between the bottom of the nose to the upper lip. Okay? Lovely. And whilst I'm here, I'm going to measure from the top of the lip to the bottom of the lip with the lips closed. Perfect. I'm just going to take a little sip of my drink. Sometimes as I'm speaking, I can feel it closing slightly. So... There we go. Okay, so from the top of the lip to the bottom. Fantastic. Okay. Lovely. And I'm going to do from the corners of each lip. I was going to say each mouth then, but the lips, the corners of the lips. Definitely only have one mouth. There we go. Measure all the way across. Fantastic. Now I'm going to take the depth of the top lip separately and the bottom lip. Excuse me. Okay, the top lip Are you thirsty? Sometimes when I do the lips, people start to swallow. Please help yourself to some of that lemon water. Please, please, it's fine. There we go. Lovely, lovely lips. Okay, now what I'm going to do is I'm going to do the distance from the bottom lip to the chin. Okay, lovely. So from the bottom lip to the chin. And whilst I'm here, I'm going to go from the centre of the chin outwards and measure the jaw, and the same on the other side. Okay? Outwards to the jaw. Lovely. And the other side outwards to the jaw. Oh, I said draw then, to the jaw. Still sounds like draw, doesn't it? Jaw, 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 jaw. Lovely. Let me just make a note of that, okay? Okay, let me just make a little note. There we go. Fantastic. Well, we've done most of the measurements for the face, but excuse me, we're going to do the ears now. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to measure from the top to the bottom of the ear, and then from this part here, just next to the face, to the outwards portion of the ear here. Okay, so I'm just going to come and do that now for you. So I'm just going to measure from top to bottom and from side to side. Lovely. I know it can feel nice and tingly, 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 tingly. Lovely. And let me just make a little note of that, okay? I've actually got a little tea here that I forgot about. This has some nice honey and lemon in, which is very good for slightly dry throats. Okay, where was I? Let's note those ear measurements down. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is just take the small measurement of the lobe. That's a good word, isn't it? Lobe. Okay, let's have a little look. Just to check. Perfect. Oh, now was that me or you? It's always funny to tell, isn't it, when you have a little stomach rumble. I guess we'll never know. There we go. Wonderful. And let me do the other ear. The rest of the measurements on the body, whilst of course they are detailed, the face will be the most detailed part, just because there are more little intricate parts that we can look at. Okay, so let's do your other ear. Okay, so we're going to measure from the top here all the way to the bottom, and from this ear just next to the face, right out to the edge. Nice and tingly, 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 tingly. And whilst I'm here, I'll just measure the lobe as well. Perfect. Oh, well, I'm very glad to hear that you're enjoying the experience. Of course. You want the experience to be relaxing and enjoyable, and you know, it's a bit of nice sort of time out for yourself. Absolutely. Okay, so moving onwards and just a little recap. We've done around the head, we've done the measurements diagonally and up and across, or up and down and across. We've then done the forehead, we've done the brows, the eyes, the nose. We've then done the face, jawline, lips and chin and ears as well. So now we're going to move down. I'm going to measure around your neck and also from right under your chin just to where your neck meets the rest of your body. Okay, so let's do around the neck first. There we go. I think that was me that time. Okay, let's do that. Lovely. And just going to measure from the top to the bottom. Lovely. Yes, it never fails to sort of keep me interested in doing this. It's funny, I get a real enjoyment out of doing the measurements. I do. And discovering sort of different proportions of bodies and shapes, I always think is interesting. Absolutely. 0.38 centimetres. Perfect. Okay then, so are you ready to move on to the rest of the body? Fantastic. So, nice and simple. We're going to do shoulder to shoulder. Shoulder to shoulder. Fantastic. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you to just hold out your arm, just like so. You can hold it out in front of you like this, to the side, whatever you prefer. Yeah. I'm going to measure from the top of the shoulder to the end of your finger there. Perfect. And I'm just going to make a note of that. 0.7. Okay. And now I'm going to measure the distance between the top of your arm to your elbow and your elbow to your wrist. Okay. Top of the arm to the elbow. And elbow to wrist. Lovely. Yes, no, I have been measured myself. Yes, and it's always funny because you know what to expect and you know what's coming. And sometimes different measurers do things in a different order. But I do find getting measured very relaxing. I do. Okay. Fantastic. Now I'm going to measure around the bicep and around the lower arm. Okay. So just relax for me, don't tense. You've got nice arms just naturally, so there's no need to tense. Around like so. Fantastic. And I'll just bring your arm just a bit around it. There we go. And around the lower arm as well. Fantastic. Okay, so we had the upper arm and then the forearm at this measurement. Lovely. Okay, and I'll ask you just to pop your arm down. Fantastic. I'm going to do exactly the same on the other side. So, measuring along the arm, the full length. Fantastic. And then measuring shoulder to elbow and elbow to wrist. Just check that. I've had this tape measure for years, and just a couple of bits of the indents are just wearing slightly, but there's something about having a trusty measure that I don't like to change it. I still get nice accurate measurements because I know the tape measures so well, but sometimes I just have to do a little double check. Okay, so now I'm going to do around the bicep and the lower arm. Okay, so around the bicep. Lovely. And around the lower arm. Oh, thank you. Around the lower arm. Okay. Perfect. I feel like when we move from the face to the body, you sort of settle in a little bit more. It can be quite a lot having things done sort of around your face, can't it? It can be, it can be. Okay, I feel like I've got very sensitive eyes today, maybe because I've got a little bit of a sore throat. I think it might be a hay fevery thing. Yeah. Okay, now I'm going to do some hand measurements. Okay, so what I want you to do is just hold out your hands just like this in front of you. That's perfect, nice and spread. And I'm going to measure from the thumb to the little finger. Okay, and then I'm going to measure from the wrist to the top of the middle finger. Okay, so we'll do that on this hand first. Thumb to little finger, and top of middle finger to wrist. Great, and just stay still. I'm going to do the other hand at the same time. Thumb to little finger, and little finger to wrist. That's perfect. You've got very soft hands. You have very nice soft hands. There we go. 0.9 on that one. Your hands are very similar actually. There we go. Okay, so we're moving on nice and swiftly now. I don't want to keep you undressed for too long. No, although it is quite warm in here. Okay, so I'm going to move on and I'm going to start with some chest measurements. So I'm just going to measure around your chest, okay? So just breathe in for me and breathe out. Good. Just relaxes the chest a little bit. Otherwise I tend to get a little bit of a different measurement. Lovely. I'm just going to shimmy the measure down. It's a good word, shimmy. Shimmy the measure down to the upper waist. And just the middle waist there as well. Fantastic. You're doing really, really well. Really well. Good. Okay, so now I'm going to move around the hips and the buttocks area. Are you happy for me to do that? Fantastic, thank you. So we take measures not too cold, don't worry. I'm just going to measure all the way around. Lovely. And just around the buttocks as well. And whilst I have you, I'm just going to measure from the stomach button just down to the sort of pelvic region. Okay, so just that distance. Lovely. Perfect. Okay, and just measure the width of the belly button as well, so just do that quickly. Lovely. Note of that. And now what I'm going to do is move down towards the legs, okay? So I'm going to measure the outside leg. I'm just going to drop the measure to the floor. I've got a bit of a bad hip, so if I can avoid bending down too much, I will. You don't mind, do you? Thank you. Okay. And I'm just going to compare on the other side as well. So outside leg measurement. Fantastic. And I'm going to do your inside leg measurement. Are you okay with me doing that? Oh, wonderful. So if you just want to hold the tape measure, if you'd like, you can hold it just there. And just stand still a second. Lovely. I'll just take that from you. Thank you. Let's make a note of those. Perfect. And now what I'm going to do is measure around the thighs. Okay, so I'm going to measure around this thigh, just around the middle of it. There we go. Oh, no, that's all right. Little leg twitch. That's fine, that's fine. Just relax. Perfect. And I'll do the other thigh as well. That's great. Now I will have to bend down in a moment. I will, because I'll do your knees and just around your shins as well. And then I'll move on to some foot measurements, okay? So you can't hear me as well, it's because I'm down there. Okay, let's take my little clipboard with me and I'm going to do the knees, shins and feet. Perfect. Okay, so let's just do around the knees, okay? So around this knee, measuring the circumference. Perfect, and I'll do the other knee as well. Lovely. And let me just make a little note of that. Lovely. And moving down, I'm just going to measure from the knee to the base of the ankle, the distance, okay? So just doing that now. And on the other side as well. Lovely. And let me make a note. Good. And now what I'm going to do is measure around each shin. So let's measure around this one. Good. And let's measure around this one. Lovely, and let me make a note. Okay, and now let me move on to the final foot measurements. Starting over here, I'm going to go from the ankle to the big toe, just slightly diagonal there, and just along from the very back of the foot, along the side of the inside to the end of the big toe. Lovely, we make a note. And exactly the same on the other side. So just from that ankle and just measuring that distance to the big toe. And then from the bottom or base of the foot all the way to the big toe on the inside. Lovely. And final couple of measurements now. I'm just going to measure across the width of each foot, okay? So, lovely. And the other side. Fantastic. Make a note of those. And finally, the distance from the big toe to the small toe. Let's do that on this foot. And let's do that on this foot. Perfect. Okay. Well, let me just make my final note and I will just, oh dear, come on up. I know, I just feel a bit disorientated. And I get like a head rush. Just relax, or just relax. Okay, let me just make my final notes. There we go. No, don't be silly, you have lovely feet. I've seen far worse, trust me. I've seen far worse. Okay. So, my lovely, that is your full head to toe detailed body measuring complete. How do you feel? Good. It can be rather satisfying and relaxing content. Perfect, that's exactly how I wanted you to feel. Absolutely. Now, are you happy for me to send you a copy of these via email? Fantastic. Now, of course, you can use those for reference at anything you may need measurements for. And, of course, over time, our measurements can change, whether that's through our own lifestyle, our own body goals, or, of course, as we age, things like our height, etc. may change as well. Okay, so if you do want to come back at any point, I'd advise leaving, a few months at least between measurements. But if it's something that you just enjoy for relaxation, then you can come and see me anytime you like. Wonderful. Well, I'm going to leave you to get yourself dressed. I'll be waiting in the other room, okay, just to show you out. But this has been absolutely lovely, and I'm really glad you enjoyed your measuring experience. You are very welcome, and you're welcome anytime. Hopefully you can go back home now and have a very, very lovely sleep. It's always the aim. Okay, I'm going to leave you be. Please help yourself to some water, and I will see you out there.